Perfect.
All right, everybody, what's going on? And welcome to today's edition of SWACTalk, the show we cover the SWAC inside and out. I'm your tour guide around the SWAC, C. Wells, coming at you. And today is our Top 10 show where I go over my HBCU Top 10. So we'll cover that. And we'll also take a look, and like I always like to say, for entertainment purposes only, we'll take a look at the point spreads for the upcoming Week 3 games. So we're going to run through those couple things, and then we're going to be on our way. So first and foremost, man, before we go any further, you can check out the socials. Facebook is SWACTalk, Instagram, SWACTalk, Twitter, SWACTalk76. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Hit that join button to become a member. Got a lot of things we're going to have coming out. We're going to have some members-only videos that we drop. We're going to, we got a members-only pick'em contest going on, so if you want to get down with that, you could join the channel and rock with that. Also, don't forget to comment your thoughts on the top 10 poll and any other thing that got to do with Week 2 or upcoming Week 3. So, man, let's go ahead and jump directly into this, man. We're not going to waste no time getting this knocked out. First and foremost, our number one team in this top 10 poll remains the same, and that's North Carolina Central. They were able to go on the road and beat North Carolina A&T 30-16, and they won their second game in a row. So they're the only undefeated HBCU FCS HBCU team to be undefeated. So they remain at the top of my standings. They will be on the road Saturday at UCLA. So definitely a big test for them there. Definitely interested to see how that turns out. Number 2 team, and these, you can kind of throw, I say 2 through 4. You can put them anywhere you want. But I stuck with FAMU as my number 1 team. My number 2 team, because they played USF within 14 points. Really, it was a 7-point game late in the game, and they gave up a big play that caused them a touchdown and gave USF a 14-point margin. But I thought they played fairly well in that game. They are looking pretty solid. They have a test against West Florida at home on Saturday, so another non-conference opponent. This time at home, it's their first home game of the season, so I kept them at my number 2 spot. Number 3 is Morgan State. They dropped a 24-21 game to Akron. They're looking really good, especially defensively. They came off their victory over Richmond to open the season. So, they dropped a close FBS game on the road. You can never hold that against anybody, really. So I kept them at 3 instead of 2. I thought FAMU still, to me, is a bit better. So I kept them at 2 and put Morgan at 3, but they're no slouch. They could easily be number 2, and they faced Towson State on Saturday. That'll be their next game. Our number 4 team is Jackson State, 27-14 victors over Southern. Nice rebound from that FAMU game. I think this team is somewhere in between those 3 games that they played. They're not as bad as their first quarter JSU. I don't think they're as good as the MEAC Challenge as a whole, but this is a very solid team. They're gonna keep the pressure on FAMU. Can JSU go unscathed through the rest of the season? That remains to be seen, but they're gonna keep the pressure on FAMU, and they're gonna be in the mix at the end if they can keep pace. And don't drop any unsuspecting games. I think they'll be really in the mix because the offense is still kind of finding its way. Defense is solid. This is a team that's going to be a tough out. They go to Texas State on Saturday, so they step out of conference and they get an FBS matchup. That'll be a game that will bear watching. An otherwise nondescript week 3. My number 5 team is Howard. They beat Morehouse on Saturday. Well, on Saturday, I believe, or Sunday. They won that game 65-19. So, took care of a D2 opponent like you're supposed to do, playing really well. They lost the Eastern Michigan open their season, so they're 1-1. But they looked pretty good in the second half of that game, so they may be finding their stride. They play Hampton on Saturday, so really big game there. The battle for the HU, really big game there. So keep your eyes out on the Bison. Can they pick up another win and move themselves up the ladder if any of those teams falter? Number 6, taking a big jump in my poll is Alabama A&M. They put the beats to Lane on Saturday, 51-13. Ryan Morrow had a big game on the ground for them, over 160 yards. Really good, really solid game on all phases. That's a good thing headed into conference play, which they play Southern on Saturday in Baton Rouge. So really good to get that momentum. Didn't look bad against Vandy. Had a couple missed opportunities in that game before the game kind of got pushed out of reach, but didn't look necessarily bad in that game. I think this team is getting better. I think the defense is getting better, which is something that I've been pushing for the last couple of years. The offense, they're a running team. They're plugging in guys. This is their second straight week of somebody different leading the team in rushing. So they're plugging in guys and they're running the ball really well. They're going to be a team to look out for if they can continue to play that way and get the consistency at quarterback. So I like A&M right now, and that's why I got them 6. My number 7 team is Tennessee State. At this point, I'm kind of figuring out who to put where. A lot of movement, took place. They beat UAPB by a score of 24-14. Really was closer than that, but I think they bounced back nice from that Notre Dame game. Their defense is really good. They did give up over 100 yards to John S. Davis, the UAPB running back, but I think their defense is their calling card, and that's going to be what propels them throughout this season. They play Gardner-Webb at home this Saturday, so we'll see how they play, how they fare in that game. I put Hampton at number 8. Now, Hampton did lose to Norfolk State, and I tend to, if teams are even, I tend to rank the team who won the head-to-head matchup over the other team. But Norfolk State had an ugly loss to Virginia State to open up the season, an ugly, fluky loss at that. So I didn't really want to put them over them with a D2 loss. So because Hampton beat Grambling in the opening week and lost to the number 5 team in my poll, I kept them ranked ahead of Norfolk. And like I said earlier, they play Howard. They're not looking that bad. They're a team who can run the ball. Their defense is pretty solid. They have a really, really great linebacker. So I look for them to continue to, at least in the non-conference, make some noise. We'll see how they do once they get in the Colonial play. Can they make any waves? That'll be very interesting to see. My number 9 team, I'm holding that Virginia State loss over Norfolk, and I put Prairie View at number 9. They're 1-1. They beat Texas Southern to open the season where they had to come back from 17 down. And then they got railroaded against Abilene Christian, but they ran the ball for over 300 yards in that game. They did give up a big passing night to Maverick McIver, so that kind of hurts. But when you're able to run the ball like that, even in a loss, that's still pretty solid. And you're going to be a tough out if you continue to run the ball the way the Panthers do. They go to SMU out of conference before they jump back into SWAC play on the 23rd. So they, that number 9 spot probably will be, short-lived for them this week. Number 10, I put Norfolk State. Like I said, they beat Hampton. Pretty decent margin. They beat them. They beat them 31-23. They beat them by 8. So really, a nice bounce back win for Norfolk coming off of that Virginia State loss, and that propelled them to that number 10 spot. They play Temple on Saturday, so barring an upset, they'll probably drop. This is a very topsy-turvy year for HBCU teams. Like I said, only one undefeated FCS HBCU team. Everybody else is, 1-1, or in the case of JSU, 2-1. Other than that, got a lot of teams who haven't won a game yet. Some surprising, some not. But that's our top 10 right now. Want to take a quick look at the FCS Sportsbook HBCU point spreads. So if you wanna do anything with those, you can check out the FCS Reddit. And for entertainment purposes only, you can do what you want with these. Bethune-Cookman plays Miami on Thursday. They are 48-point underdog. The over/under is 56. Their last FBS matchup, the offense barely gained 100 yards. They scored 14 points on 2 defensive touchdowns, and they playing a Miami team who has scored 30-plus in both of their games. So I think the Hurricanes win that game comfortably. Saturday's games, Alabama A&M is a 1-point underdog to Southern, and that's primarily because Southern's the home team. If this was on the road or neutral site, A&M would be favored. I still, even as a Southern fan, I need to see this offense score points to rank them, to put them as a favorite over anybody. You scored 10 and 14 points in both your games. A&M scored 51 in their last game and 13 in their first game. So they're capable of putting points on the board. They're capable of running the ball. I give them a slight edge in this game, even though Southern's favorite in this. Over under 51.5. That's a mid-20s type of game. So we'll see how that turns out. Our next game, Florida Memorial at Grambling. Grambling favored by 24. I haven't seen Florida Memorial yet this year. I'm gonna try to check them out during the week. They weren't that bad last season, although they did get beat really soundly by Southern in the opening week last season. But 24, I think Grambling can, if they can pass the ball like they have, and Chance Williams can run the ball like he did against LSU, they're gonna name their score. So I think 24 is safe. I think they'll beat their spread though, but the over/under is 68.5. Jackson State at Texas State. The Bobcats are favored by they're favored by 16 points. Over/under of 48.5. This is a very intriguing game. I think JSU is gonna. I think they're improving week by week. Texas State had a really good first game. Didn't do so hot the next week, but they have a new coach and a new system, so they're trying to get some things going. I'm interested to see how JSU fares in that game. McNeese is a 1-point favorite at Alcorn, over under 57.5. Alcorn passing game has to get going in this. They have yet to have a good passing game in either one of their games. I think they may have completed like 10 passes all season. So they're running the ball solidly, but they need to really get better passing the ball. McNeese could be an interesting test for them. Don't know if they're going to have enough to get by them, but Alcorn's defense should be solid enough, although they did give up 38 points to Stephen F. Austin on Saturday. Miles is a 3.5-point underdog at Pine Bluff. I'm tempted to take Miles in this game because they beat Bama State last week, but I guess the key is can they not be too high coming off of that game and be able to face a Pine Bluff team that's improving week by week. So I think this is going to be a close game. 3 points is not a bad spread. 3.5 is not a bad spread. I can see Miles winning this game, though, if their offense plays like they've been playing all season. Valley is a 25-point underdog at Delta State. I'm not touching that at all, man. Valley lost to Central State to open the season. Delta State's always a great team. They're playing at Delta State. I'm leaving that where it is. I'm not even touching that one. Prairie View is a 31.5 point underdog at SMU. Over under 57. That's pretty much what it would be. Texas Southern is a 28.5 point underdog at Rice. Andrew Body didn't play against Toledo, and it showed. I'm assuming he's going to play this week. If he does, then the offense should be better. If he doesn't, that offense just looks anemic. Rice beat Houston on Saturday, so they're flying pretty high. No pun intended for the Owls, but they're flying pretty high, and I think that should be an interesting game if Andrew Body plays. Other than that, the offense did not look good at all against Toledo, so we'll see how that goes. And our last game is West Florida, 8-point underdog at FAMU. This should be a good game. FAMU's playing. They're playing pretty well. They did lose to USF, but they're not playing that bad. West Florida is going to be a tough task, and we'll talk about that game a lot in our preview. But those are our spreads for SWAC play this week. Again, entertainment purposes only. Have a little fun with them, and that's going to do it for today's show. We'll catch y'all Wednesday for our week 3 preview, and Thursday is SWAC Smoke. Sunday is our week 3 recap, and then we'll be back to do this show again next Tuesday. So, man, with that being said, I'm your tour guide around the SWAC. Well, signing out. Y'all have a good day, and we'll catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.